This is the Inkpulp podcast. This is the Inkpulp podcast. Comics, hip hop, life. Welcome to the Inkpulp podcast. I'm your host, Sean Crystal. Why does Sean do that? I don't know. I'm re-recording the intro for this episode. And in the tradition of honesty, which is what this podcast is built on, I'm going to be honest with you, my faithful listeners. I recorded myself. So this podcast is me inking an entire commission with a new technique. And it was a little uncomfortable for me because I was forcing myself into areas where I'd have to let go of control a bit and find my way out of the drawing or find my way through the drawing. And the goal is to learn to find joy in that process of drawing, more so than worrying about the finished product. Anyways. So I recorded myself inking this piece. It was about 3.5 hours, I believe. And I had a microphone next to my face. And I talked my way through 3.5 hours. I was working to keep you all interested. I was working to explain the madness of my mind to you. And I'm using this new software that I'm not terribly familiar with. And I forgot last time I used it, I turned off the mic. Well, apparently you have to turn it back on next time you use it, and I did not. So I have 3.5 hours of silent footage of me inking this drawing. So what to do? Well, I've done sped up versions before. So that's what we did. We sped it up. So it's a shorter podcast today. I apologize. Shit's just going to happen when you keep it as raw as I do. Oh, baby, I like it raw. It's just shit's going to happen. Now, with that being said, I recorded audio over the sped up version. I think it's pretty damn solid. So, that's what happened today. And if you're wondering why it's darker than normal in here, because I'm back in the studio at night recording this intro because that whole fuck up set me back on everything. So I don't want to keep you too long, and honestly, I'm tired. I just want to go chill out, smoke a little weed, and go to sleep. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoy this. And the whole purpose and point of all this is to give you a little more taste of me as a teacher so you can see what Inkpulp instruction is all about. Click the link in the comments or the description or whatever. Follow me across all social media at Inkpulp. I got a Facebook page, I got an Instagram, I got a Twitter, and I'm doing Facebook Live and Instagram Live now. Check my story on both of those. I'm tying them together. Thursdays from 5 to 5:30, Instagram. Thursdays from 5:30 to 6, Facebook. I'm going to be teaching you shit on there. I'm going to be doing demonstrations on there. We're just going to sit back and kick it sometimes and talk about music and movies. Books, artists, art, anything. Come join the crew. It's been pretty good. I've only been doing it for 2 weeks now. This is going to be my third, and it's been good. It's been populated a lot more than I thought it would be from the jump. So thank you all for those of you that listen. Other of you, come on in. And the whole half hour will go to my Instagram TV, and I'll figure out what Facebook story is because I'm doing that for the first time this week. That's it. Enjoy. Peace. Hi, welcome to the Inkpulp podcast. As you know, I'm your host, Sean Crystal. So today I kind of screwed up. I recorded myself inking this commission in real time. It was over 3.5 hours of me inking, speaking into the microphone as I went, explaining everything I was doing and what I was going for. So I used new software, and I assumed the mic was on by default, and it wasn't. So we're going to do a sped up version. So here's the rough for the piece I'm doing. I can't call it a thumbnail because it's not small, and I can't, I guess you call it a layout. And I did this with a Prismacolor art stick, and I wanted to use a tool. That's it right there. I wanted to use a tool that would not allow me to get detailed, that would just force me to use big shapes and create the movement and composition I wanted. In the future, I want to use these black wing pencils because it would be nice to have some ability to erase, because those art sticks don't erase. And that was the pencils underneath there. So and here I am inking. Now, the goal in this process is to allow me to loosen up more and more with the pencils, and eventually draw more with the final inks. So the process I've developed is forcing me to do that on a very minor scale. I'm the type of artist, I've stayed in what's comfortable, what I know I'm good at, for too long. And I feel like I've just kind of, my creatively, my growing has slowed. Hasn't stopped, it's just slowed. And I really feel like I'm ready to just grow a lot, like steroid style. So this process is my first attempt at forcing myself into the deep water. I know that's silly to hear because the drawing is fairly tight, but just the fact that I'm not inking directly on top of my pencils gives me some distance from the pencils. And I'm inking mainly in the areas around the face of Deadman and the two big skulls, because those are going to be more focused. They're going to be more detailed, and I'm going to be drawing more with the brush. And I know I can draw with the brush in my sketchbook. So, and I like the marks I make when I do that. There's like an improvisational quality to it I want to capture. So I'm a Gemini, and I like this controlled chaos idea where I can have these areas of expressive mark making, the chaos, and the areas of detail mark making, which is the control. And I think ultimately that's what my work is. And I'm just trying to lean into it and embrace it. So normally at this point, I'd be backing off this process and tossing what I've done because it feels uncomfortable. But I decided it's time to force myself. I also trust myself now. I can't say that I don't think I trusted myself before. So I know I can do these things, and as I'm going, I'm getting a little nervous about the head, because that's where I'm going to be doing all the fine line work, and I really have to draw with a brush. It's a silly fear, but it's a fear, and it's been controlling me. And now I'm trying to put the fear in back of me to push me forward instead of put the fear in front of me to hold me back. Little sample from Jimmy Iovine from the Dr. Dre Compton album. That spoke to me when I heard that. So I'm using Raphael 8404 size 2 brush than my normal ink. Strathmore 500 series vellum surface, very rough paper, very thick ink, which allows the dry brush to happen. And as I was going, I started to feel more natural, and this started to feel more normal for me. And you'll see me at times pulling out my phone. What I'm doing is turning on and off my overlights. They're controlled through the Wi-Fi through an app on my phone. And sometimes I needed them to be off because I needed to see the pencils through the paper a little better. And then there are times like now where I could see enough just keeping them on. And then there's times where I turn the light box off, where I don't need to see the drawing underneath at all. All in all, it makes this inking experience much more active, not passive. It's more of an act of creating than an act of perfecting, if that makes any sense. It does to me. And here I am in the face, and as I'm going, I'm like starting to get really comfortable with the idea of drawing. I was really apprehensive, especially in the eyes, because the eyes for me, if they're not perfectly shaped and lined up, I will feel like the whole drawing falls apart. And I know that's silly, but there's something about making sure the eyes are correct where I feel like that's where it all holds together. And so as I started going, I started feeling very comfortable in this process and wanting to do it more and more. So I think I've opened a door to my creativity that I really needed to, and allow myself the room. And mainly what it boiled down to was trusting myself, I think. Trusting in my abilities and my knowledge to be able to go into the unknown a bit, go into the deeper waters, and just know that my skill set is strong enough that I can do this. I can pull it off. And as I'm going here, I'm realizing the composition is built to lead you from the upper right hand side of the page down through towards the left center where Deadman's face is. So as I'm finishing up Deadman, I'm thinking about these skulls I got to ink, and the skulls, I didn't want to do them all brush. I started to get this like idea like I should use blacks and brushwork in certain areas to keep you moving through the composition of Deadman's face, but around it, I should probably use some nib, which is a much lighter, finer tool. So the marks that will create won't be nearly as dark in the pulled back sense, in the macro sense. And I started to find reasons not to. I started to find reasons to just go through what I normally do. And I finally realized, oh, that's the voice I should not listen to. And I've been listening to it for too long. So now whenever I get a feeling like, should I do this? I'm like, just do it. Because the only way you'll know if anything works is if you try it, look at it, evaluate it, and then decide, instead of ruling it out in your head. So right about now, I'm thinking like maybe I should do some white splatter ink down by Deadman's foot. And then I was like, no, you don't need it. And that's when I said, oh, I just said no, so now I have to. And it's kind of a healthy, fun place to be. It just forces you to do things that are uncomfortable. But as I went, this started to feel more and more comfortable. And I mean, I wish I could just get paid to sit here and do these black and white ink drawings right now. So I'm going to find a way to get them in my schedule a bit more. But as you can see, the big skull, the blacks and brush marks are close to and around Deadman's head. And on the third skull, it's just going to be the eyes and nose and cheeks. So it continues the flow of that like mist down towards Deadman's head. And when I'm done with this brushwork, I'm going to fix something with my whiteout real quick right there. And now I'm going to pull out my nib, the brush again. Now I'm going to pull out the nib. There it is. And as I started making these marks, I was like, this is a giant mess. And I knew it didn't ruin the piece, but it wasn't like, I was hoping for some magic. And the more I stuck with it, I stumbled upon these taupey-like marks. And the magic revealed itself. And then I was having fun, and I was in it like a new creative territory for myself, and it felt great and it looked good. And so now I really want to continue to play with it. I pulled out my Topi books to explore, see how he did it a bit and understand how he made it work so I can digest it and spit it back out my way. And so I was really happy with the final piece, which you can see on all my social media at Inkpulp. And here I am. I'm going to spray the white because I said I shouldn't, but here I am doing it. And I think it added a nice touch. A little more white. And now I'm going to stamp it, wow, and sign it. And that's it. Thanks, folks. This is the Inkpulp podcast. This is the Inkpulp podcast. Comics, hip hop,